Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a 9-game NBA slate for you. Before I get started, you can guys smash that like and subscribe button. Alright, so this week we will be getting into Major League Baseball near the end of the week, so that's great. So that should be a lot of fun. Hopefully we get into some really solid opportunities there. With the NBA season winding down, we're going to see more guys sit out. We're going to see a lot of questionable tags and all sorts of chaos happening. NBA is going to be a lot tougher going forward. Last week was kind of the beginning of that, and I don't really love these, especially this slate today, as it's just all over the place, murky. But we do have some guys that we do like, so we will take a look at that. But before I get started, let's just get into this injury report here. For the Hornets, Ball, Williams, Martin, and Curry are out. For the Cavaliers, Mobley is questionable, Mitchell is out. For the Celtics, White is questionable, and Holiday is out. For the Hawks, Young, Johnson, Bay, and Okongwu are out. For the Pistons, Duran is questionable, Stewart, Thompson, Fontecchio, and Grimes are out. For the Knicks, Randall, OG, and Robinson are out. For the Nets, Simmons, Cam Johnson, and Smith Jr. are out. For the Raptors, Barnes, Quickly, Barrett, and Podol are out. For the Wizards, Poole is questionable. Kuzma, Tyus Jones, Colaby, Shamet, and Livers are out. For the Bulls, Levine, Pat Williams are out. For the Trailblazers, Ayton is questionable, Thibault is questionable, Grant is doubtful, and Simmons, Brogdon, Sharp, and Williams are out. For the Rockets, Sengun, Jabari Smith, Eason, and Whitmore are out. For the Suns, they're actually at full strength. For the Spurs, and potentially the slate breaking situation for this particular slate, is Wemby being questionable. For the Grizzlies, Desmond Bain, Lavaria, Stevens are all questionable, and then Morant, Smart, Vince Williams, Kennard, Conchar, Z. Williams, and Rose are out. For the Nuggets, Murray and Jokic are questionable. For the Mavs, Kleber is questionable and Josh Green is out. And for the Jazz, Markkanen and Clarkson are questionable and Dunn is out. So obviously the Nuggets questionable tags and the Spurs questionable tags definitely have the most to do with the slate when it comes to finding value later. And we'll have to wait and see on those guys. But we do have some guys we do like, so let's go ahead and get into that part of it. So this slate does feature only a couple games that even have relatively tight uh, uh, spreads. Brooklyn is a 6.5 point favorite over Toronto, and Dallas is an 8.5 point favorite over Utah. All the other games are at least 12 points or more. I'll also mention that there's only a couple games that have higher totals today, with Phoenix and San Antonio Spurs having a 233-point total, and Dallas and Utah having a 237-point total, which really limits a lot of the potential today. But I do think it's going to be kind of a chaos slate with a lot of value plays potentially having some opportunity. And I will kind of go into those, but I'm not going to go too deep because a lot of them are just kind of, I mean, they haven't played many minutes and they're going to have really risky potentials. So, but my favorite plays right now, we're going to start with Luka Doncic. Luka has played very well lately. He's got really good upside in this matchup. Obviously, he's super expensive, but you could throw him in there with guys and kind of run up the score from that perspective, and then just try to go with a bunch of random value guys, which is probably the play today. That's how you're going to win a GPP. Obviously, for cash games, that's going to be a harder thing to do, but right now, that's looking like the best way to go. I'm avoiding cash games today, just so you know, because I don't see any way to build quality lineups from that perspective. Nicholas Claxton, also a guy I like here for Brooklyn. It looks like he's going to have plenty of minutes today, and he should be able to handle the whatever Toronto's starting at the big guys today, as they don't have much, and their ranking it continues to drop as guys put big numbers against them, and he's going to have a lot of opportunity in this one to do well, and so I do like his potential today, though he does definitely carry some risk. Then we're going to look at Jock Landale here. Oopsie. Um, for Houston. He has some good upside. He's played pretty well since he's been increasing his minutes, though he doesn't get more than around 20 minutes, and he definitely has a low floor. He is what you would call a GPP Hail Mary type play. I do like a couple guys from Brooklyn today, and Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, he definitely has some risk here. His minutes are very sporadic, but if he gets plenty of minutes, he should be able to pay off on this one. I also think that Trendon Warford has some potential today. Obviously, a Hail Mary type of play, depending on how this injury situation plays out for Brooklyn. Uh, Looking at Toronto, actually, Javon Freeman Liberty definitely has some potential today. He's been playing more minutes the last 3 games. He has had some good ceiling games earlier in the season, but he definitely carries a lot of risk. Uh, then we're going to look at Miles McBride here for the Knicks. He's continuing to play a lot of minutes, and he probably one of the safer plays on the slate, to be honest. The last 3 games, he's played 40 minutes or more, which is pretty wild. Obviously, he's going to have some potential in this game against Detroit, but we do want to make certain that he keeps that starting situation going for them. But he's definitely somebody I think you could lock in as a solid play at this price point. Lonnie Walker also has some utility here for Brooklyn, but he also carries that kind of Hail Mary-ish play as he's not playing a ton of minutes, but he might get more in this one. Um, I do think Fred VanVleet has some potential today as he has played inconsistent lately, but with Houston, they are actually on a pretty good winning streak right now, and he's playing pretty solid. His price is a little bit higher than I want, but if he can continue to play the way, with all the injuries stacking up for Houston, he's going to have more usage, and that does give him some potential here. I also think Dante didn't. Sorry, Dante DiVincenzo for the Knicks is in play. He has some potential today, though he's a little bit overpriced. But this matchup does give him some leverage, and so he's definitely worth a look, at least in a GPP scenario. Um, I also like Rashawn Holmes. He's been playing very well for Washington lately, and this matchup against the Bulls isn't super ideal. But he's had 3 straight games over 26 fantasy points, and he doesn't need that many to pay off here. He actually had a pretty good game against Toronto and Sacramento and Houston, so I think he has some potential in this one. But it definitely carries some risk. Joker would be in play if he does start, but I don't know that he's going to play this game against Memphis. Memphis missing just about everybody. Brunson is a little bit overpriced today, but he definitely has some GPP potential here against Detroit, as he should be able to dominate this game. It's just a question if he'll get enough, if he'll play deep enough in the game and get the peripheral stats to pay off here or not. Mostly beyond that, there's just not much to like. We do have a few more value plays like Bruno, Fernando. Uh, let's see here. Well, there's not a whole lot more. I mean, DeRozan looks okay. Amin Thompson, um, Isaiah Hartenstein has a little bit of upside. DeJounte Murray for Atlanta has some potential, but he's facing Boston. It's just really a rough slate. Josh Hart is a little overpriced, so is Didi Abija. There's just not a whole lot to love here. I mean, Jarrett Allen could be in play as well. I really actually kind of like him with all the injuries to Cleveland, even though it's a low-scoring game. If he can get the minutes, he should be able to pay off here. But the last game is a little concerning. He only played 22 minutes, but he definitely has been a little bit inefficient lately, and that's somewhat of a concern based on his price, but he still draws GP play appeal. But right now, McBride is probably my favorite play on the slate, which is not a great situation for a fantasy aspect, but he definitely has that potential today, so he's definitely worth that look. With that said, guys, let's go look at the individual games here. Obviously, with the injury report, if for the Spurs, if Wemby was to be ruled out, this is where it's really gonna make or break here. So if Wemby is ruled out, whoops, I thought I hit the Spurs. Then Keldon Johnson and Zach Collins would become core plays for me, and that's really kind of the big catch here. This is a tough matchup with Phoenix, and Keldon would definitely have to go up against Durant, but I do think that they have that upside in this one. Trey Jones would also get a nice little boost here. If we look at the Nuggets, this is where it gets a lot more uncomfortable because, oopsie, Denver, with both Jokic and Murray questionable, that would open up Reggie Jackson some and potentially DeAndre Jordan, but those guys are definitely going to carry some risk there. Let's see if there's any other injuries I think are really going to pay into this one. Maybe for the Wizards, but they have a tough matchup. Not an ideal matchup, I should say. If Poole was out, that would also give Abija a boost and maybe Chris Burt. But my gosh, it's hard to really like much from this team. Maybe uh, he might have a little bit of upside, even though he didn't play many minutes the last couple games. Really just a rough slate overall. Not much to like here. Uh, Obviously, with the Hawks, they are playing Boston, so that's a disappointment. Bogdanovich will get a boost, but with playing Boston, that definitely hurts. If White were to also miss, that would open up Pritchard again even more, but he's definitely come up in price. Hauser would also get a little bit of utility, but with both Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis all playing, it's unlikely that those are going to be great plays. Uh, and then just looking at Toronto, I mean, they have so many guys out. They do have a decent matchup here, but Gary Trent and Olenek have all priced up, so is Bruce Brown and Grady Dick. It's hard to really like them because they're just all overpriced right now. Then, but for the Cavaliers, I mean, this is the other situation that has the best potential for fantasy. Allen obviously comes into play here. Garland, LeVert definitely have upside, but they are definitely overpriced now as they've propped up in price a lot. So it's hard to really love them. Charlotte is very avoidable today. Yeah, there's just not. This slate is rough. Like I said, McBride's the best one. We're just gonna have to wait and see. Hopefully something opens up with Wimby or Murray and Jokic being out, which would definitely help the slate. But overall, this slate is pretty rough. For the Jazz, Markkanen being questionable, obviously you could open up something with Kessler or Collins, but that definitely carries a lot of risk against Dallas. For Dallas, if everybody's healthy, then Doncic is in play, but super expensive. So, with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. And have a nice day, guys.